writing conventions and improving them is kids just write, right? And then when they read it, it sounds normal to them. They don't think about the conventions going back in it. And we used to edit with daily language sent at the DOLs, right? Oh, I need to capitalize this, and you could always find it when you're looking for it. But really teaching the kids, and that's a hard thing as a switch, is how can you find it when you're in your authentic writing, and really pushing that. And I think that one of the ways to do that is right now, like when I've seen in classrooms, is they edit, oh, go with your partner, go take a marker and edit. And you're trying to edit and you're trying to have them share, but it's really like it could be an editing checklist until it's ingrained in there. Like in you, it's part of your process of I looked for this, I looked for this, I looked for that. And then with the teacher really going in and while they're editing is stopping and conferring with them and saying, making a lot more purposeful of this is a quick conversation I had, while I brought her my writing, period, like throughout. Obviously not under control, but she knows to use them, just not under, but having that conversation about specifically and just making sure, even maybe having writing small group, like a convention small groups. All of these kids were working on this one skill and looking at it, but I think you could really I think that goes back into that first instruction, but having some professional development on specifically on how to convert and how to get those conventions in place better. That's something that I think that easily could be developed.
And in my summatives with the second and the fourth grade teachers, I think our staff is very open and sees the need for it themselves, sees the need and sees the desire to grow so that they can help their students perform more successfully. Editing invitations has a lot of success and is very purposeful. Where the teachers struggle is to jump directly into that. They feel like there needs to be a structured kind of a skill base first for the students to acquire the skill prior to applying it or to the application skill or analyzing it. They gotta kind of get to that knowledge and comprehension piece of the skill. And sometimes with editing invitations, it felt like they were automatically jumping into analysis or application without that basic level of understanding of that you need a subject and you need a predicate. In a second grade term.
Right.
And so that's, they would be open. I think it's some type of a book study. I love the idea of small groups. I love the idea of small groups and changing the mindset of teachers that writing can happen in small groups, and conferring does happen while students are in the process, not after they've spent the whole time, but while they are. I have seen, in fact, just you share what you see, and my daughter has a checklist on her. She brought home her cover board, and she has, her high frequency words here, and she has, I can't remember what was here. Oh, it was a mathematics. So it must have been reading, math, and writing. And on the writing checklist, and there was on it, and I could see where she had actually gone through and she checked mark. And of course, by now there have been millions of check marks, but it's something that she uses every day. And just off the top of my head, one was capitalization, one was punctuation, and so I do think that's something that I believe I've seen in some of our teachers' classrooms, but not in all, which is a vertical, those vertical discussions and talking about what works in my classroom. I think that would be effective as well.
The vertical alignment with writing or whatever else, is it something that y'all would be thinking about, like it would be like once in 9 weeks if the content areas could come together to just talk about this is how I know that a lot of, this year that a lot of the things that were done in third grade, a lot of fourth grade teachers, and they were trying to find a way to make it new again. Like that's the thing, is like we've already taught this and we've said this, and the lessons, the lessons are the same exact lessons in second grade, third grade, fourth grade. You take it deeper with different books, but the lesson's the same. And maybe just trying to find a different way of how do you dig deeper. And like looking at that, if all of us have this lesson on this type of activity, and the activity hasn't changed, what can you do to make sure that the kids are understanding that they felt like they've already haven't done it? Does that make any sense? But maybe having a vertical alignment where we're looking at that and what does it look like in second grade? What does it look like in third grade? And how we can change it? And that, it'd be a professional development in a way that you're just understanding how to grow them from what they've already passed done.
Yeah.
I think that maybe just scheduling a vertical alignment more often like once in 9 weeks, like maybe at the end of the 9 weeks, you can maybe look at it for the next 9 weeks prior to or something like that. I know that we talk about them, but.
Maybe kicking off the year too with it about where did our students end. This is where our first graders ended. This is where our second graders, third and fourth, so that the teachers understand what's coming.
Right.
You know, what skills this group of students are strong in and what skills they still need help with.
Yeah, could we maybe put that in that week that we come back, like find a way that we'll have, and you'll have each grade will almost go to 2 sessions, because they'll go to the session, you could go to the session prior to in the grade, like so kindergarten first would meet and then first and second would also meet. So you would have 2 sessions of it, but just talking about, because like you said, when you're sending them off, those first grade teachers know those kids better than anything, and not the kids specifically, but this is how we taught it, and so they go forward, so they're not doing the same type of thing.
I think even coming up with a campus writing plan. I know we have our scope and sequence, we have our district scope and sequence, but to really come up and say that when our students leave pre-K to go to kinder, we want them to be able to do this. In kindergarten, this is what our focus is, so that it kind of, that it builds, and so that we really start to, where we may be focusing on quantity rather than quality, but that we actually make that switch and that adjustment through there, but that we have it designed that we're gonna teach them capitals, and if that's what they come out of kinder, we're gonna capital, or we're gonna look at punctuation, we're gonna, and look at really those beginning pieces, because you shouldn't have a second and a third grader putting periods everywhere.
Right.
Or, capitalizing in the middle of a sentence, a regular word. They should already have kind of those convention pieces, but then if you look at the type of sentence that we want them to write, here's a simple sentence, and now we're gonna add some descriptive words, and we just continue to build, so that if we look at it in those pieces, I think that would be helpful.
I think that sounds good. Any other areas that y'all can think of that, from growth that needs to be done, that we could add professional development for our teachers? I know we focus on reading, we talked about technology, we talked about writing, but do we need, do like the basics of, or basic things that we could be covering more?
I think that continued focus with the MCP as far as increasing simultaneity, randomness, strategies, good first quality instruction, strategies that would increase student engagement. Our students at Pleasant Elementary are very respectful and very polite, and very compliant. And so they will do what needs to be done. But are we keeping fires lit, or are we lighting fires? Are we making them interested in what they are learning? Or are we, you can't make someone interested, but are you
engaging them?
Yeah, it is that level of engagement. It's happening in many classrooms, but in other classrooms at times, there is compliance. I'm going to do it because it's what's expected of me. And then we lose out on the potential, on the student's potential, I feel.
Just trying to find ways to continue
to increase student engagement through the practices of MCP.
I just, like I said, when I think about,
and I've had specific conversations with some staff members in which that's what my focus is next year, is that this routines and procedures have been set where the students are compliant, and that's great, they've got that all there. But then now it's time to bump it up, where we're increasing the rigor, we're increasing the amount of time students are engaged in collaborative discussions with one another. They're, teachers have it down where if they're checking for understanding, they can check for understanding with the whole class. What strategies, procedures do you have in place? Is it a quick write? Is it a pair share? Getting those strategies a part of our daily process at Postman Elementary.
Reflecting back on that, I think that our first year when we introduced simultaneity and all of the randomness, all that, it was going on. They were excited about it, and it's just didn't fall to the wayside, but it wasn't as much as students, the teachers are constantly using. It became, this is what you taught me this year, I used it this year, and okay, what's coming, what's new, what's coming next? And we kept trying to say with MCP, it's not going away, these are go teaching things, this is what you want to do on a daily basis of what's going on. And I think that just really trying to go back and be like, this is just everyday go teaching, it's just part of who you, we're hoping to make it part of who you are. And it's like getting up and brushing your teeth in the morning, you know, using randomness and using simultaneity and those different techniques that should just be part of who you are. Like you can try new things, yes, but you still have the basic of, I brush my teeth every morning, you know, I take a shower at night, or whatever your routines are. We're hoping to get those ingrained enough that just becomes who you are. It's not something new that they are learning.
Right.
Another thing I wanted to talk about was looking at the rest of our campus time equivalency. I know that Kim said that right now that it's free to choose any of the 3 hours we wanted to do. I didn't know with some of the things coming up, do we maybe want to make a campus time equivalency one of these things we talked about, so that it's not, that it's content related, whether it was a vertical alignment or whether it was one of those things that specifically is going to be put in place that we want to see, because we do have that option of the 3 hours. I didn't know if that's something that y'all wanted to discuss, knowing that there are other options coming up there. I mean, obviously you can't require the technology or whatever else, but if there's a vertical alignment,
I think the writing vertical alignment would be wonderful for the reading language arts
charge teachers. Okay.
And I think that in-class support for an intervention, what in-class support would be wonderful for our paraprofessionals, that to ensure that they would each have that. Then we've got to look at the math and the science.
I just didn't know if it's one of those things, looking back on what we know specifically our
Even
areas.
if you did the vertical alignment and then you did the MCP component, give them specific, go back and pull through the specific techniques and have the videos and get together and do a portion of that, because then at least you're bringing it back up.
to the CFP.
And it would impact instruction. It would impact instruction, and that would be beneficial.
To continue just to keep pushing and making sure that's being brought up. Just another thing I thought about, I know that you can't really require it, but when it is a campus time equivalency, that would be something that you thought about.
Oh, I think it would, if we designated it as campus time equivalency, my hope would be that people would understand that this is of significant importance, and that's why it's classified CTE, and to kind of be a carrot out there. It's part of our CIP.
And that's what, just looking at it, I know that the whole purpose of it is just to continue to grow. You know, how can we, what are we going to do to keep improving? And I know that it's one of the things that when you measure things, so you can change and you can grow, and you want to put in professional development. I know that, like, I've taken so many hours and done so much that I feel like I need new things. I mean, grad school is going to take care of that for a little while. I didn't use a single grad school hour this year, so I'm gonna like, I got some stored back there. But I just know that, you know, finding ways. We talked about being a stagnant learner, right? That's children or educators, and we want our educators to not be stagnant. We want them to be trying to find new things and put them in place and continue to grow, because that's what we are. We're lifelong learners, and so just finding ways to really reach those teachers and things that they are interested in. And it may be a survey that comes out. Maybe it's something I put on, create a Survey Monkey and say, what would you like to see staff development in? What days are, you know, just putting it out there so that it could be broken down by content area. We could look at it and see some things that they were wanting. Or do you have ideas that you want to share with the staff development? You know, like a share session too, because sometimes that just would help. But somehow just trying to get everyone to come together and put things back into the classroom that you said are the best first instruction, and really just try and close those gaps.
Right.
I think that's all.